Do you find yourself overwhelmed by the thought of making a career transition? I've been there and I understand the challenges you face. That's why I created the Career Compass, the ultimate guide for high achieving corporate women to make career transitions with ease. The Career Compass breaks down the decision making process into 5 clear steps, helping you make savvy, empowered career decisions. Head over to karenfreeland.com/career compass right now and download this invaluable resource. It's completely free and will get you on the path to a more fulfilling career. Go to karenfreeland.com/career compass now. Welcome to Rock Your Reinvention, where I help high achieving career women like you get unstuck, make your corporate exit strategy, and successfully transition to your next chapter. Hi, I'm your host, Karen Freeland, a certified life coach and corporate exit strategist. Whether you want to start a business, become a speaker, or something else, I'm here to give you the tools and strategies to shift your mindset, build your confidence, and take bold actions so you can rock your reinvention. Ready? Let's go. Okay, welcome back to Rock Your Reinvention. Do you have a career or a calling? And what's the difference? Today, we are going to unpack these questions and help you decide if you're living your true purpose or you need to make a pivot. Now, before I break this down, I want to be clear that one isn't necessarily better than the other. And there are seasons of our life where a career will suit us just fine, and seasons where anything short of a calling will be torture. Only you can judge what season of life you're in and if your feelings warrant a pivot. Now, I'm definitely biased towards living your calling because I've experienced both. And personally, I'm 1,000% happier now that I'm living my calling. But this is ultimately up to you. So let's unpack the career side of things. If you are career oriented, that means that you see your work as a job. When I think about what depicts a career, I think about working for the paycheck. The bigger the numbers, the more satisfied you are, being driven to seek out advancement in the workplace. Think about that bigger, better title. You're looking for roles that give you more leadership exposure. When you're in a career, you tend to be striving for that next promotion, as I like to call it, the next hit of dopamine. You're going to be looking for training to try to expand your skill set. And as one article that I found online put it, you're generally aiming to impress, which actually makes a ton of sense because so much of what you're doing when you're in a career is generally fueled by extrinsic motivation. And this is something that I talk about in my book, Grab Life by the Dreams. And I just want to read a little excerpt from that chapter 1, page 17 here. Extrinsic motivation occurs when we complete a task because we know we will get an external reward or recognition for completing it, or because we feel that we will let others down if we don't complete it. So going to work for that paycheck? Yeah. Or trying to get recognized and win awards and get that next promotion, that's external motivation, right? It's extrinsic. Here's another way to think about it. I used to be a B2B marketer, and I was not doing that on the weekends for fun. And I most certainly would not have done that job if I were not being paid. So one way to think about this is, would you do your work if you weren't being paid? And if so, congratulations, you're probably living your calling. If not, you might be in career mode. The other thing to consider is what happens when you make it to the top. You've been striving your whole career for this top seat, and you finally get it, and you're like, okay, I've arrived. Now what? All of a sudden, you may find yourself thinking, well, this is meaningless. What did I waste all this time for? What was I doing? Where do I go from here? Now, I'm not saying everyone is going to end up in that boat, but you'd be surprised how many people do. And you never know when these thoughts or feelings are going to hit you. So even if this doesn't resonate with you today, when you're listening to this in October of 2024, if you're following along with me and you're up to speed on all my episodes, right? But that doesn't mean that in 2026, 2030, 2045, you don't hit the wall and go, whoa, she was right. It does feel meaningless now. We never know what's waiting for us down the road. People with a career orientation also often have a long-term vision, right, for their professional future. Like they know where they're going. You can ask them, where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And they have a path set out. They're really good at creating goals and hitting their goals. And they probably even enjoy some healthy competition with their colleagues, or in some of the toxic environments I've worked in, some unhealthy competition. Does any of this sound like you? If so, don't worry. Like I said, there isn't something necessarily wrong with this. If you love your work, the people around you, you could even be thriving in your career. This might be your place, your jam. It's only a bad thing, and I'm using air quotes here, when it leaves you feeling unfulfilled, drained, or dissatisfied by it. There were several years in my corporate career early on when I was fairly happy. I even enjoyed some of what I was doing. I liked the people I worked with. I had fun at work. I even believed in the mission of some of the organizations that I worked for. And everything was great until it wasn't. And that's when I knew that there had to be something more. I wanted a calling. I wanted a deeper purpose with greater impact on the world. And that is exactly what my coaching clients want as well. That's why they come to me. They're like, help me figure it out. Help me get the calling. So let's look at what it means to have a calling, or how you might know that you have a calling. If you experienced your work as a calling, you're more likely to feel a deep alignment between your day-to-day work, your vocation, however you want to categorize it, and who you are as a person. I call this soul aligned. It's that spot really deep within you, right? Inside your heart, inside your soul, where that lives. And it's just in total agreement with your day-to-day work, and even filled up more and enriched when you engage in that work. If you are living your calling, you feel a personal and an emotional connection to your work. It was so cool because this morning I had a coaching client, and we've really been working on getting her to assert herself more. And in this session, she spoke up today and she was like, no, Karen, I don't like that idea. And I was like, cheering for her. I'm so proud of you. You spoke up. You asserted yourself. This is great. And I would have done that. I would have done that whether it was being paid or not. And I just found so much joy in watching her go through this transformation and start to own her voice and speak up. It was beautiful. And that's the kind of personal and emotional connection that you can have to your profession, that you can have to your work. People who are living their calling are typically enthusiastic. They have a passion for what they're doing. They have a true sense of purpose. And in fact, you would do this if you weren't being paid, right? I will still coach people even if I wasn't being paid, right? It would be in my nature. I would be sitting at coffee with someone and be like, look, let me ask you some questions. Let's dig into this. Let's see if we can bring some insights to the surface for you, because it's just my calling. It's what I was sent here to do. And this is where the intrinsic motivation comes into play. And again, this is coming from my book, Chapter 1 of Grab Life by the Dreams. It says, meanwhile, intrinsic motivation is any situation in which a task is done for the simple gratification of doing the task itself. It's being inspired to take an action for the pure love of doing it. And every day I get to wake up and coach amazing women so they experience more fulfillment and avoid the pain I went through. That's more motivating for me. Makes sense, right? I also think that when you have a calling, it's much easier to navigate the challenges, right? And we all hit roadblocks in life, right? No matter what you do for work, you're going to have good seasons and bad seasons. And so when you run into those challenges, if you're doing your calling, it's going to be like an easier pill to swallow, right? You're going to be more motivated to push through the challenges and keep going. So I'll give you an example. There's a woman in our Facebook group, Successful Working Women Rocking Reinvention, who has a therapy practice. She's a therapist, and she used to work for a group practice. And I think she was in the hospital setting, and she was miserable. She did not have enough time to spend with her patients because she was in this like corporate confines, and it just was draining her energy. She didn't feel like she could show up and give her clients the best of her. So she decided to go out on her own as a therapist and go into solo practice. She was in the calling, right? The calling was therapy for her, but she just needed to change the environment to take it from a career to a true calling. And there was another woman in the group that also did that. She does more addiction therapy, and she had a very similar experience, very toxic workplace. Felt like she was being used and abused. They were asking her to, work 24/7 and just taking advantage of her, walking all over her. And she finally said enough is enough and started her own business, doing the same thing she was doing for them, but now doing it for herself. Now, there might be one of you listening, or 20 of you, or 300 of you listening going, okay, Karen, this all sounds great, but I don't know what my calling is. No problem. Easy peasy. You get to choose. Yeah, you have that power. See, I chose coaching to be my calling. There was no fairy that came down and hit me with a magic wand and was like, oh, I'm the career fairy. Congratulations. You're now going to be a coach. This is your calling. I just started exploring it, fell in love with it, saw the impact that I could have with it, and was like, yup, this is my calling. I chose writing books as my calling. Then I started volunteering, and I was like, oh, I'm going to add that to my calling. And podcasting is my calling. Being on the news every month is my calling. Being a wife and a mom and a dog mom is my calling. You get the point, right? You choose. You don't need anyone's permission to call something a calling. And if you still aren't sure where you go from here, that's when you break into exploration phase, right? This is when we start getting more creative and we start exploring some different avenues to see what speaks to your soul. And I have something that really exciting that I want to share with you, that I want to tell you about. I am actually going to be hosting a workshop called The Power of the Pivot, where I'll be teaching you how to unpack your goals and career desires to make the most soul-aligned move for this season of life. It's going to be October 7th through 11th, and I want to personally invite you to attend and join me for this live session. I'm going to be right there with you, right in front of you, where you can ask questions, you can engage with me. And in just 5 days, I'm going to walk you through a proven framework that's going to remove all the guesswork and the agony over your career move so that you can confidently move closer to your calling. And I know firsthand that it can feel risky to make a move. It can feel unsettling, even a little terrifying, but it really doesn't have to be so hard. By the end of our time together, you are going to be able to make a concrete decision about what you want to do next and start laying the foundation for that pivot. So make sure you sign up for this today I have not gone live like this with a workshop in over 2 years, so you do not want to miss this. KarenFreeland.com/pivot. Remember, Karen is with an I, Karin. Your personal and professional fulfillment awaits you. All you have to do is go to KarenFreeland.com/pivot and save your seat. Of course, the link is in the show notes, so you can just click and go register. Now, one final point of consideration. People who have a calling and are living it out are generally the happiest, most fulfilled of all. And I want that for you. That's my calling, to help others, especially women, get unstuck, break free from the hopelessness, and step into your purpose where you can finally thrive. This gets me excited. So I hope that I am going to see you all at the Power of the Pivot. Sign up now, KarenFreeland.com/pivot, and save your seat. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're inspired to take action by committing to one of the tips or strategies we talked about in today's episode. If you want more accountability and support, I've got your back. Book a complimentary Empowered Exit Strategy call today. Visit KarenFreeland.com to learn more and book your 45-minute session. Until next time, stay fabulous.